All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and feature titan for today, Chad Sahhar. Chad, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thank you, Greg. It's truly, truly an honor. I mean, we've got some incredible agents in this community, and just to really, so humbled to have the opportunity just to sit here and just to share life with you. So super grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
I know there's a lot of anticipation for everybody out there just to dive into this episode, really get to know you as a man, as a brand professional. So yeah, let's just dive right in if you're all right with that.
Sounds great.
So let's start with tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Background is in hotel sales and marketing.
Love it.
I had the opportunity to come out to Colorado Springs about 16 years ago. Wow. Transferred in the hotel world. So yeah, a lot of fun, and it was a great experience at the time. And now, as flash forward 16 years forward, we've got married, have a wonderful wife, Leah, who's watching right now. And,
hey, Leah.
And 7 great kids. So super, super pumped, and just love life, and it's what it's all about.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that, you're almost a transplant native, right?
Right.
There's so few people that are actually here that are born and raised here. I mean, it's just such a melting pot of amazing people from all over.
It sure is.
So let's go into the business portion of this, into your story and your background. So why real estate? What got you into the business in the first place, right? And then what was your progression in your career to today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, honestly, Greg, when I moved out here, Colorado Springs is a very different hotel market than Scottsdale, Arizona, right? You got golf, you got destination. I've got great family out here. I have an uncle in the business. So if Peter's watching, hey, Uncle Seuss. And he really encouraged me. We were trying to take a segue out of the hotel world and said, hey, you ought to consider getting into real estate. So really kind of followed that path, and got my license and started kind of diving right in, and worked under him for a while, and then just had some incredible mentors throughout the process, and brokers that we worked with. So that's really kind of led it into it, and just another way to just really serve the community, serve the people, but just at a different way. So
okay, and I love that kind of background going into it, and obviously having those mentors in our lives are so crucially important. So I love that you mentioned that as kind of guiding you through the process to become the man you are today. Obviously, other influences.
Right.
But I do want to go into kind of the next portion, which is really important as to why you do what you do. So the why question, right? If you could really explain to everybody that's out there what drives you, it really motivates you to do what the level that you do it at. What's that look like?
Honestly, I've got 9 reasons at home.
Okay.
Right? I mean, that's a huge impact. I think legacy is important. I think, at the end of the day, we have the opportunity to serve people. You see people at different stages of life. You see people that are just going through different circumstances.
Sure.
And we can shed a little bit of light into those people when it comes to the home buying or home selling process. However, a bigger piece of that is really building something for our kids, our families, really leaving a legacy that can look back to say, hey, we want to build something that our kids can look at and say, wow, we've built a foundation for our children to kind of step onto, whether they choose to go into real estate or not. But at the same time, as a father, as a husband, as a realtor, it's really, really important and critical that, when I wake up every day, I've got, these beautiful smiles looking at me that I can just say, hey, it's well worth it. No matter how hard we grind every day, how hard we work, at the end of the day, the truth is that's what really counts. It's really what's important when you get home and you can look and ensure that you're tucking kids in at night and you're giving your wife a kiss going to bed and those types of things. So.
Wow. To me, I think that's a fantastic why, and there's nothing richer. There's nothing better out there, and everybody who's watching or listening can really resonate. Family is so crucial, and I think that how you set that foundation for your family and how you live reflects onto who you are out in the community and what you do as a professional here in this marketplace. And with your reputation being impeccable as far as I'm concerned, and obviously things coming through to your clients, it's out there. Anybody that knows this, man, knows that it's right. But I think that that's a huge reflection onto why people love you and represent into the marketplace out that way. It starts with family.
Yeah.
That's foundation. So that's a huge why. It really is.
And honestly, Greg, I really, what we do at home transpires what we do out in the community. If I, to separate that is really challenging. So if it's enabling us or being able to just set that at home, set that tone at home, it allows us to be that much more effective when we are out in the community, serving people and all those things. So
wow. Well said, my friend. This is great. So I want to go into the next question, which this is actually a crowd pleaser. Anybody who's watching or listening to this absolutely loves to understand how the Titans grow their business, really what they're looking at to scale. So if you could look back at your business thus far, pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next. Right. What's that look like for you?
Honestly, for me, Greg, it was really, if I go back 3-4 years, honestly, there was a point where we were working a couple jobs. We were running, working at a sales team for Marriott hotels. We, doing real estate, juggling the two. Honestly, taking the plunge, jumping, and really realizing and believing in myself when it comes to saying, hey, as a realtor, you all know it, the seasoned agents out there know it. It's a hard business to do part-time.
Agreed.
However, but, we got to do what you got to do. And when you got to feed your family, you got to do whatever you got to do. For me, it was really taking that leap. And then the next step was really being in our business, realizing some of the challenges was not being present in our business. And what I mean by that is really, obviously, we know, stay in contact with your database. Right. Always, being present in that way. But also, for us, it was really, adding a team member, adding administrative support, really being involved in our community, the neighborhoods we live in, how do we impact those neighborhoods that we live in, and really just give back. How do we find something that we can do as an agent or realtor and really give back to our neighborhoods? What's something that we're not always so focused on, how much business can I get out of my neighborhood as much as how can I give back into that community and give back into that neighborhood as well? So just really kind of taking some small steps and taking that approach to really, really kind of building on the little platform that we had and trying to continue to grow it from there.
I think that, at least to me, a lot of takeaways out there for all of the seasoned or newer professionals, really truly being involved in your community, and that's being selfless. It's not how many more transactions can I get out of this, or I'm trying to saturate. It's doing the right things because you truly care.
Right.
And I love that message, and hopefully that rang loud and clear out to everybody, as this man truly cares. It obviously comes out when he's speaking about the communities and what he does, and that's why the success really comes. And we kind of chatted about this before we went live. Is I think when you're doing the right things by the right people, the money comes, right? But that's not the why. Right. At the end of the day, we need to put food on the table. I understand that, and the more we make, the more we can truly give. And I think that's fantastic in your message.
Right. And as many seeds as we can put into the ground. You take the farming concept that we all know in realtor, how we farming, but how do we take that principle a step further? How do we take that principle in our own personal lives? How do we sow seeds into our own lives? How do we sow seeds into our kids' lives? How do we sow seeds into our clients' lives? How do we do that? Because we live, we try to take the principle of sowing and reaping, Wow. You go out there and you give to the community, or you go out there and you are selfless. As a parent, as or all you parents out there that know that, being selfless is a very challenging thing, Right. And it really puts a lot of things into perspective. But, even when sometimes times get tough, you realize, hey, it doesn't change the fact that principles still work. The right principles are always going to come back to you. So.
Wow. Huge advice out of here. So hopefully everybody took notes. This is fantastic. Chad, I love that. And it's really, really truthful to everything that you do and represent on the community. I do want to go into the next question when it comes down to it. This is the tricky part of this interview and this series. It's the challenge question. Yeah. So I always address to everybody, look, we all deal with challenges in our lives, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. And no one's exempt from that. But at the end of the day, not so much what happens, but how we respond. So if you're comfortable sharing a challenge that you dealt with,
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do.
Yeah. So, man, challenges. Which one? There's
Yeah.
tons of them.
Episode 2.0 with Chad here.
Let's see. Was it going from 6 kids to 7 or from 2 to 3? No.
That's great. I love it.
Personal challenges. Obviously, we went through some challenges in '08. That was a big, we went through some loss at that time of year.
Sure.
Really had to restructure where we were. If I go back even further into just even, going back even from just kind of figuring life out,
Right.
really, what's that purpose? You always feel what's the thing within inside of me. Loss was really hard. I mean, you hear a lot of stories and a lot of agents that have got, experienced some really challenging things that can be super traumatic. And for us, we were growing our family. Our principle was to keep the wife at home, to keep my wife and to instill her dream and her passion to be a mom and to be a teacher at home. And so, we took some really hard financial loss and was just really looking at that and realizing that doesn't define us. It doesn't define who we are. It doesn't define where we're going. We can always take the step and the approach to really climbing back out of that. Those are just circumstances that happen. However, God put something within us that says, hey, that's not who we are. That's not, it happens and we can push forward. We can move forward in our life. We can realize that, hey, we can take the ability to just to make things right, to make things better for all that matter, and work harder to climb out of it and know that those things don't define you. So for us, that was a real struggle. And obviously juggling real estate and a big family can be challenging. And really, that challenge, I know there's a lot of busy agents out there that are doing tremendous business, and we all battle with the same thing.
Sure.
Where's the balance of life, and how do we take that balance to invest into our children, to grow our businesses? And, and for me, that's still kind of a constant struggle because, when it is important to be there for your family, to be there for your kids and for your wife and to be a support. My wife, as a mother of 7 kids, she's an incredible woman that does incredible things at home and homeschools. And so really to try to find even that way to support her as well as our business can really sometimes impact our business just because we make those sacrifices. So
sure.
a few things that, we had to go through but at the same time changing our mindset, believing and seeing our vision and where do we want to go and being able to establish that and really going for it and not letting people tell you can't, because you can. I think anybody out there that has questioned that, you can definitely make the plunge. You can definitely see success. You can definitely change your habits. I was always learned that a rabbi always taught, you can have mentors or mistakes, so choose mentors. And that resonated well with me. So really finding people, Greg, that like the Titans here and all the people that have shared their testimony and their nuggets of wisdom that, there's opportunities to link arms with those people and really being able to see that, you can make, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. So
I think that there's so much shared right in that moment, and obviously I appreciate you kind of airing it out in front of everybody. It's not easy to do to look at a negative side, but obviously your positive mentality and everything comes through, and that's really the message is no matter what, you can keep moving forward. But a few of the things that I took out from there is the wonderful support that you have as a family and as a team, and you have your structure and what should be done in the time that's the right order. So many people put occupation and money and things in front of what truly matters, and obviously your family is everything, and it's come through and then continue to grow, and the success that you've had is through a lot of that support and mindset.
That's absolutely right.
So I love that, and for other people to take away, no matter what hardships you're going through or thought processes that you're having, I mean, look at what this man has accomplished in his life, and what he's telling you right now is really have some reflection on yourselves and see what you can do and what you can grow, and be positive. Right? I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it every step of the way.
I think God always put within each and every one of us a destiny. There's an opportunity that we all have, and sometimes it's hard to look through the trials of life that sometimes push that down And there's a great Proverbs that says, a man of understanding draws it out. Within the belly is there's a well of wisdom, but it's or there's a man of wisdom that draws that out. And sometimes it's getting linked up with the right people that can really support you in your season of life and where you're at and help get you where you want to go. So
I love that. I mean, super positive. This is great stuff. And normally this is a tricky question, but this went real smooth, everybody. So this is great. I do want to shift gears onto that and go into a slightly softer portion of this interview. And this is actually my favorite question. It comes back to the travel back in time. So, Chad, if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any stage of your life, what would you say to your younger self?
And that was one of those that I was thinking about, and I thought, we all have different life experiences when we're younger. I think for me, it was really going back and not really being afraid. First of all, not being a people pleaser, and at the same time, listen to your parents, because our parents, obviously as being a parent, we look back and we think, I don't know how many times I've had to eat crow in front of mom and dad and say, I wish I would have listened to you now, but at the same time, really looking back and just thinking, hey, God put our parents there for a reason to really kind of help guide us through life, depending on whatever circumstances we were going through. But at the same time, really not being afraid to take steps when there's, a dream or there's an idea that we all have or that's been put within inside of us that wants to be birthed.
Wow.
And sometimes we get around the wrong people that just squash that, or the negativity starts coming in and we start questioning whether or not we're capable of achieving that. So really, if I had to go back, it would really just to really share that. Really, don't be afraid. Don't be a people pleaser. It's good to be a servant, but at the same time, not to be a pleaser, but at the same time, really being able to not be afraid. Take whatever's been put within inside of you, take that and just really believe that you can achieve it. So.
Wow. I love that aspect. And again, not just for young Chad, but everybody else, myself included, who's watching or listening. That's great advice to look at is, not to be afraid. And fear is such a negative impact on a lot of people's lives to stop them from really reaching their destiny or their true fulfillment of greatness. And I find that to be so sad. Fear is a restriction, a limitation that we usually put on ourselves. And as I'm assuming that you were raised or brought up this way with mentors and family, is to really tackle those fears. Don't let them dominate your life, because one thing that pushes you away becomes another and another and another, and you're further and further away from what you really love and want. So I really, really love that aspect. And you're talking about people pleasing. That's tough for a lot of sales professionals or professionals in the customer service field or sales industries. They can look at and say, well, I want to try to do right by everybody. There's a difference between, as you mentioned, being a people pleaser and being real, being genuine and helpful and honest. And you're never going to be everything to everyone. And I think that more of us really need to hear this over and over, is do the best you can, don't try to hurt anybody. But at the end of the day, you're projecting positive nature out there. So I love that you're saying that. I really do.
Yeah. So it's, sometimes I still got to tell that to old Chad. So.
Yeah, that's right. See, the honesty is here. See, you hear all this? This is real stuff.
You got to be real, right?
Oh, Chad, this is awesome. Okay, so let's shift gears into this, and this is actually a huge crowd pleaser that's out there. Anybody watching or listening into this, it comes down to how the Titans are feeding their minds. Really, what books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media. What are some things that you recommend or that have really made impact on your life that you'd like to share with everybody?
Yeah, definitely. And, we talked a little bit about principles, Greg, prior to going live. Morning routine is big. Books, obviously getting into the good word, getting into the scriptures is huge in the morning time, having that reflection time in the morning, trying to set kind of order to your day.
Okay.
One great book we're reading right now is the Go Giver Influencer, which is really good, the power of influence and, how the dynamics of that all work. So that's really that's been really great to read. Podcast, let's see. Gosh, I haven't had a podcast. It's been a while.
Sure.
No podcast lately.
Okay,
but,
totally cool.
So yeah, from book standpoints, that's been the big thing. The key is, for me, was just really, and everybody watching, I know there's a lot of Titans that have great morning routines, and I think I think when we fall away from our morning routines, you can really feel the impact of the day. I know for me, if you don't stick to the schedule and get up and create order, for us it's really important, especially with a lot of kids. If the kids beat you up before you, the day can kind of go down like that.
I love this.
But at the same time, really, creating that order and really finding ways to just really get those affirmations in. Really feed yourself with the word, get wisdom in the morning. I mean, that's just really the key for me, is having the right mindset, getting my mindset right, getting it locked in, so that way when things start coming at me, you really can respond in a great way.
Love it. And I love that you mentioned, when it comes down to different ways to educate and fulfill your mind, and I love the fact that you've mentioned the morning routine. I know this is kind of off the cuff, that sort of thing, everybody, but I mean, would you mind sharing a little bit of your morning routine and what that kind of looks like? Because I think there's a lot of information in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So 4:30, alarm goes off. Not perfect. There's days when I miss it, don't hold me to it. But a great morning routine is 4:30. It's quiet time for me. There's a prayer time that I have, that I go down. I take about an hour, and then I hit the gym. We've been training for first half marathon in ages, so got that coming up in Denver next month. So trying to get the exercise, get the blood flow going, which is huge, and then usually get home and try to get order, get breakfast, hang out with the kids, try to help the wife if we're trying to get the kids going, get their schedule going and all those things, and then try to really get into work and start tackling the day. So that's really key. If you can get up, the morning times are hard, especially if you've been grinding all day, but really it makes a big impact, and it really helps set the mood of the day as well.
I love that. And I think more of us really need to kind of look at our lives and our daily routines and try to adjust that. There's a book, The Miracle Morning. I think that there's that hour. You're ahead of the curve, 4:30. I think 5 a.m. is kind of that typical time frame where it's like, okay, the CEOs and the captains of industry, it's 5 a.m. and they have their routines, and I think it's great. But to anybody out there, I think that you find a routine, whether it's the morning or evening. Some people are night owls. I think that you just need to find a groove and to set your mind right, to really have your own time to really build that day out, which works perfect for you and your day. I think is crucially important, and not just kind of fly by the seat of your pants everywhere that you go. I think that that's a fantastic way to look at it. So I know that was off the cuff, but thanks for sharing the morning routine. So hopefully everybody appreciate that. And I will have links in the comments down below so that you can feed your mind the same way that this man does. Chad, this has been fantastic, full of phenomenal information, so many good takeaways for everybody out here. Truly inspired. But I do want to wrap this whole thing up with a final question. This question comes down to a quote or a mantra that you live by that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for Chad Sahhar?
That's a great question, Greg, because this kind of puts everything into a bow tie. Everything we talked about, it kind of ties it right up. I read this quote, and it really just resonated with me because it just fits well with how my life goes. And that's gain wisdom and be a servant to all. And the more wisdom and knowledge and better that we can be as a person, we can go serve our communities, we can serve our families, we can serve our spouses, we can literally serve the people around us that much better. So the more wisdom we gain, the more experience, the more that we can take that, fill our cup, and let it overflow into somebody else's life is really powerful. So for me, that's been kind of resonating with me, and it really challenges me to constantly grow and try to define my life a little bit better and work some of the kinks out, but that's it.
I love that, Chad. And again, I think it sums you up beautifully. Who you are and what you do in the community is fantastic. I'm honored to have you. You're an official real estate titan, my friend.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much. As always, everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. If you really like what we're doing here at Real Estate Titans, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast. Like the Facebook page, that always helps. Share with your friends. As always, live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.